Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to one James Fishback. He is running for the gubernatorial role of Florida after Mr. DeSantis steps down. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to weigh in on the politics of this guy. I'm going to tell you that this guy has some views that some of you would agree with or disagree with. And I'm here to tell you that he's probably not what you would consider to be a mainstream politician, maybe. But he says, breaking, I'm running to succeed Ron DeSantis as Florida's next Republican governor to make life more affordable for you and your family. I'll stop the H-1B scam, tell Blackstone they can't buy our homes, cancel AI data centers, and abolish property taxes. I'll play just a brief clip of this just so you get an idea of who this guy is. The reason we're talking about him is not because we're going to weigh in on politics. We will not on this channel do that. But I don't know of another time that I can recall that a gubernatorial candidate was removed from Disney World. We'll talk about it. Here's his campaign ad.
My name is James Fishback, and I'm running to succeed Ron DeSantis as Florida's next Republican governor. I'm running for Florida governor so I can make life more affordable for you and your family. Easier to afford groceries, to buy a home, to raise a family, and when it's all said and done, to retire with dignity. I'll do that by stopping the H-1B scam so our workers, especially our college grads, can get jobs again.
All right, well, hold there. Again, we are not a political channel. It's not what we're here to do. And this guy is going to have some views that some of you like and some of you don't like. And we will just leave it at that, okay? Now, here is what happened that's so incredible. At Joan from DC has this. Here's footage of Disney security removing James Fishback after his meet and greet attracted more than 150 patriots. Now, we're going to play this, but what you need to know about this that makes everything a little bit more interesting is that Disney has a policy where you are not allowed to have a gathering like a political rally, or, you can't set up a fan get together. You can't be sitting around signing autographs, hold a convention, et cetera, without their approval. Okay? However, this guy reportedly went to Disney Springs and got approval for having and hosting this in a private patio area of Starbucks at Disney Springs. Not the one that's close to the Disney store on the other side. And apparently, he got permission from Starbucks to do this. Let's watch the video, and I'll explain why this matters so.
There was this need. Let's read on the duty manager for Disney Springs. Can I ask what's going on? Having a conversation. Okay. Because it's attracting some other folks in the area that don't know really what's going on. Oh, yeah. So, have you guys talked to Starbucks?
Yeah, we have.
And they gave you permission?
Yes.
Now, here's the key part of this, and I'm not telling you that I agree with this guy. I'm not telling you to disagree with him. That's not what this video is about at all. I am completely setting this aside. He could be a socialist. He could be a Green Party. He can be Tea Party. Whatever. We're just paying attention to the principle of this. He tells them, yes, we've cleared this with Starbucks. And they appear to have cleared this for a private patio gathering at Starbucks. Cleared it.
James Fishback. That's the name of your group?
Yes.
Okay. So, let me go talk to the Starbucks manager and we'll be back in just a minute.
So the Disney person says, let me go talk with the Starbucks manager and we'll be back.
They don't want the conversation to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, want to come over here? Yeah.
No, come up over here. They weren't familiar with you, so we'd like to chat with you for a minute.
Come over here, come on.
Could you please come over here?
Wow.
So they don't want to be on camera.
Unfortunately, Starbucks is asking you all to leave their patio. I'm sorry. So if you don't...
And then the Disney person says, Starbucks is asking you to leave their patio. Essentially what this turns into is leave or be trespassed. Now, we can go on later on and you can see that they get taken and removed from Disney Springs, told to disperse, get out of here. Folks, I'm not here to tell you whether you like this guy or not like this guy. I've got my own private opinion about it. I'm going to completely divorce the conversation from that. If this had been a group celebrating the things that Disney likes, and you all know what those things are, I do not believe that Disney would have removed a private gathering from a private patio approved by Starbucks. Somebody stepped into this and said, we're going to override Starbucks. Because Disney Springs security apparently went to, and we're basing this off what we see in here, Disney Springs personnel allegedly went to Starbucks and basically said, no, we're going to override you. They're out of here. This is a very bizarre thing, because I don't ever remember a candidate for governor having this happen to them. Panel, I don't think this would happen if this person was, let's say, advocating for certain social issues that Disney often agrees with. I don't think they'd want the bad PR. Your thoughts on what you've just seen?
I mean, they've literally hosted Democrat fundraisers on Disney's dime that included Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So, you know, I think the case to be made for Disney agreeing with someone in allowing something like this in the park is there. Of course, Disney Springs seems to be a very different kind of place, but not that different at the same time. It is Disney property, but it's not the park. You cannot stop somebody from having a meeting at Disney Springs. That's any more than you can stop them from having a meeting at a restaurant. You are going through security, but it's a open location. It's private property, but it's public in that these are paid for with funds by from the residents of the cities of Bay Lake and what was the other one? What's the other one? Buena Vista.
Yep, Lake Buena Vista. This would be within the boundaries of Lake Buena Vista.
Yeah. So, I think they should have just let this go and not turn it into a thing. That's something
that's the other
Disney
thing, Jonas.
used to be a lot better about doing.
If Disney doesn't like this guy, and he has opinions that I bet Disney does not like, and again, I don't think that and everybody has their own opinions about politics, right? I'm not trying to weigh in on that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's in the typical Republican mold, whether you think that's good or bad.
Do they ask gay days to not plan events at the park?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
when it was a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. This isn't an official Disney event. For decades, it was a not official Disney event.
That is the absolute best point you could make, Jonas. There's no defense against that. Disney supported that 100%. This guy, you can dislike some of his positions. I do, but he's got a private patio. Nope, he's not bothering anybody at Starbucks. Starbucks approves it. Disney comes in, overrides Starbucks, and kicks out a candidate for governor. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I don't think Disney has a defense after you look at what they did for decades with the gay days, like you said, Jonas. And we're not trying to weigh in on that social issue either. We're just saying there is a clear and obvious, and I'm sorry to those out there who disagree with us on social media, there is a clear hypocrisy. There just is. This is not the same. One side of this is being treated in a very different way than the other side. Bash, your thoughts.
I'm going to take a contrarian position on this. Look, it's private property. Your 1A rights don't extend past the gates, just like your 2A rights don't extend past the gates. Disney's allowed to make any call if they want on their property, just like, let's say, James Fishback's own property, right? He can host something for the Republicans, and maybe if somebody goes on his property to host something for Democrats, he can tell them to leave. The thing about this is we don't quite know the nature of what Starbucks originally agreed to when he actually put on this meet and greet at first. Perhaps they were thinking it was going to be a small gathering, and yet this was one of the events in which he did announce his gubernatorial race for Florida's next governorship, and apparently, according to reports, there were over 150 people who actually attended. That's a much different event than maybe Starbucks was initially agreed to. Again, it's very clear in Walt Disney World's rules that no unsanctioned events actually take place on Walt Disney World property. And yes, of course, we all know gay days, goth days, and dapper days, and all those kinds of events. But again, there are going to be things that Disney is going to agree to and not agree to because, well, it is their property to make that decision. But it's not like Disney hasn't hosted Republican-leaning events before. In fact, in February of 2022, actually, Disney hosted former Vice President Mike Pence and Governor Ron DeSantis, along with Kayleigh McEnany and others, for an event featuring the what was it? The oh, why can't I? Yeah, the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society being a group of advocates who advocate for like originalist or textualist interpretations of the Constitution. I believe all of the nominees coming out of the Trump administration have been Federalist Society members. And so they hosted an event actually at Yacht and Beach Club, and there was no time in which they were asked to leave because, well, they had scheduled that before. Again, this is the convention kingdom. You can do you can schedule these events in the appropriate fashion with Disney, and they will allow these things to take place, at least usually. We all know about the "I'm not a crook" speech that actually occurs in the 1970s at the Contemporary Resort.
True.
So
I forgot about
right.
that.
Right. So, Disney has been known before for years in order to sanction events, whether it be Democrat or Republican. But again, though, it's the manner in which these things were done. When it comes to this particular individual, that being James Fishback, I mean, I've seen the videos that have been posted about his interactions with cast members and so forth, and he was not exactly, I would say, entirely compliant with orders and directives, and that might have been one of the reasons.
Yeah, he's an abrasive guy, and
right.
we're in a little bit of a difficult position because, let's put it this way: I would be defending this the same way if this was the socialists of America, because there are some similarities here in that I don't want to weigh in and say my political thoughts on all this, but I feel like I'm defending somebody who there are some levels of disagreement that I have, but I'm being careful about where I go there. But Vash, here's the thing. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm applying Occam's razor to this. And the Occam's razor test, of course, everybody knows what Occam's razor is. If you don't, it's just that we go to the simplest route possible, right? So the simplest
it is the path of least assumptions, technically,
right?
But yes.
So the simple question that I ask myself is, if there's 100 furries, all right, 100 people who decided they're going to dress up like, animals. If there's 100 furries who go to Rainforest Cafe and ask to sit on the outdoor patio that Rainforest Cafe has that's rather private. I know, MJ, it's kind of funny. But if there's 100 furries that go and ask to sit on the patio of Rainforest Cafe and they talk about whatever it is that furries talk about at Rainforest Cafe and they enjoy their volcano, I don't think Disney security comes and kicks out the 100 furries. So that's where I
actually think they do, because it's actually prohibited to wear any costumes on Disney property, and it's prohibited to actually cover your face on Disney property as well. So yes, I do believe they actually example.
I knew that's what Mitch was going to say, Pro.
Well, I'm actually just talking about them wearing tails, not the full furry outfit.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose tails is another story, right? But you can't have unsanctioned events. I mean, I remember when historian Jim Hill actually used to provide tours within the theme parks and around Disney property, and he was asked to leave and actually halt that behavior. And I've known a number of vloggers who have tried to have meetups both at Disney Springs and in the parks themselves, and they've been halted by Disney from having those events too. The thing is I look, the politics do come in here just a little bit, and this is the only time I'll actually do this on this channel because I do think it's relevant for the story. It is well known that Byron Donalds is the leading candidate in order to replace Ron DeSantis in that seat. And so what better way in order to get your name out there than to have a high profile event like this? And again, James is capitalizing on this moment. He is making a big stink about this on social media.
This was a gift to him, though, right, Vash? Like, this was, whether it's whatever the policy is, this is a major gift to him. It's created visibility for him in social media in a way that he would not have otherwise had.
Sure. And I think that's really the motivation behind this, honestly, because it is well known. If you are in the Florida area and you live next to these theme parks, you do know to a certain degree what you can and cannot do within these theme parks. You understand that you can't, bring prohibited items, let's say on that two-way spectrum right there, to the theme parks, for example. You do know that demonstrations actually exist outside of Disney's gates. You might be able to see signage in the background, but it's not on Disney property. In a similar fashion, I think people understand that unsanctioned events are just not going to be allowed by Disney. And I think that's what happened here. Now, look, I know how it looks, and it certainly looks bad, but I do think Disney might have taken a similar stance had it been a Democrat candidate or otherwise, because of the amount of people that were on property at that time for that event, and for maybe how James acted in response.
Vash, let me ask you this. Does Disney designate what establishes a quote unquote event? Like, let's say that you have a family reunion and you've got 30 to 40 people in it. Mm-hmm. Does that constitute an event that must be approved? Like, where is that legal line that Disney draws? Or is it an arbitrary system where they simply say, when we call it an event, we call it an event and we'll send you out? of the parks or the property.
It's far more arbitrary because it is private property. It's a call that Disney can make at will. I mean, that's really what it is. Right. When you walk through those gates, or when you walk on Disney property, it is theirs. Just like you would in your home, for example, right? If you're hosting an event, maybe you were thinking, oh, I'm going to host something for 10 people, and then it turns into a gathering of 30, 40, and maybe the police show up, maybe they don't, but it's your call to make when it comes to, hey, this is out of hand, or hey, this wasn't what I intended. And as the property owner or landlord in this case, you make that determination.
MJ, does it get more confusing if Starbucks did, even if they were not, maybe it wasn't wise, maybe Starbucks didn't understand. Does it get more confusing if Starbucks sanctioned it originally and then was overridden by Disney? Does that make this a little bit more of a situation where maybe Disney could have, and also lessen the visibility by doing so, if Disney had said, okay, Starbucks approved this is against our policy, you guys have got 30 minutes to wrap this up and hop on out because Starbucks approved it, and that's an odd situation for us, but we'd like you to wrap up in half an hour and be done with it. Maybe that was the way to handle it. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm very confused because thank you for pointing it out. So Starbucks approved this. He's been advertising it on his social media platforms, and then Disney comes and overrides it. It's very confusing. It sends a message that could confuse anyone, whether you're on the left or the right. But I'm wondering, what if he would have done a reservation at like Summer House on the Lake, or something, a meet and greet anywhere else in Disney Springs? Would they have done the same thing? I'm just wondering. And it's so funny because isn't Starbucks, I'm being biased because I'm drinking a Starbucks coffee, but isn't Starbucks like the company known not to swing too much to the right?
Well,
and
in the past, they've been criticized for moderating lately.
Right. And then they're giving this guy who is a, conservative, party, permission to have his little meet and greet in their premises. Like, I don't know, but
I'll say this again.
So many points. It's at their will. They have the right to call it.
They do have the right, but I'll say this. I would be shocked if 100 persons of a particular bedroom persuasion show up at Rainforest Cafe or T-Rex or wherever, and they get a private room, and there's 100 of them in there, and they have their little chapter meeting or whatever for the local gay days, whatever. I would fall on the floor in shock if a video came out of Disney security telling them, get out. Yeah. We're not doing this here. You're not allowed to do this here. If 100 members of the local chapter of whatever, of that persuasion, gathered at Disney Springs in a private room, I would be flabbergasted. My jaw would hit the ground if Disney came in there and said, get out now. And that, although they have the right to do it, is what creates the PR snafu, I would say. Jonas, Vash, you guys get the final thoughts on this one. Tell us what you think about it, and we'll wrap this one up.
There have been instances where I'll just bring up one more. There was not a disability demonstration from the DAS changes that happened at Epcot. I do believe that event went off without a hitch, but it was not a demonstration, but it was a show of visibility that happened within the park. And that was actually inside of Epcot. And there were several different events on several different days that people had to buy admission or have passes in order to participate in those. And I don't think Disney did anything about that.
Yeah, again, it's Disney's call to make on all of these things. Well, we might not like it, and look, Disney has gotten in trouble in the past with this. I remember there's a big case, I believe, in the 1980s that occurs at Disneyland, which they remove two people from the dance floor of the then Videopolis, now the Fantasyland Theater over there at Disneyland, and they were sued for that. Unfortunately, they lost. And so Disney has definitely taken a different tack when it comes to the removal of people, and especially of different various persuasions, as pointed out by Pro. So I do believe they would take a different tack in that instance right here. But it at the end of the day, it is Disney's call to make. Even though Starbucks may have allowed them to meet up in this fashion, it could be very easily be like, hey, Starbucks is like, whoa, this is getting out of hand. Let me go ahead and call our landlord, which is Disney, and they have a policy that they are able to enforce. And it's unfortunate that it works out this way, but at this point, it is the company's stance to take. It is their property, and they can enforce it at will, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right.
I agree with Ash.
Folks, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you know if anything else comes of it. Again, I would suggest to be a moderating voice. And if I had been Disney, maybe come in there and say, 30 minutes, guys. Starbucks approved it. We don't, but 30 minutes to wrap it up. And take away this guy, if that's what Disney wants, take away this guy's ability to sort of ride the infamy of being kicked out of Disney World as a gubernatorial candidate. Might have been what he wanted all along. Don't know. But that's one thing that Disney gave him, for sure.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.